It's another time on SMS Weekly right here on Galactic Television, a program where we bring to light ways of growing our micro, small, and of course medium enterprise sector. I'm Ezinne Egasi. Don't go anywhere.
Ever wonder about what he's doing? How it all turned to lies? Sometimes I think that it's better to never ask why.
The sperm of the male, right, having injected the female, after 10 hours, we now press the stomach of the injected female to bring out the eggs in a bowl. We use the milk, we splash it over the eggs, mix it very well. By the time we have prepared this place, put up a net, we have checked the parameters, all the water parameters, ensure that one, the temperature is okay, then the pH is equally okay. Having tested that, we now spawn. We put the mixed egg on this net and allow it to wait for between 12, maximum of 30 hours, maximum, not more than 30 hours. After that, about a day and after that 30 hours, we have to come and remove the net. By that time, the eggs must have hatched. Any unhatched one, if the net is not removed, it will pollute the water, and even the ones that are hatched will die because the water is polluted. So if we look critically, we see them, they are just coming out from their shell. They are very, very tiny. They are less than 4 hours old. So you can see they are just coming out. They are just some of them are still in their shell here. You see that green line?
Okay.
All those ones are their fishes. Okay. They are fries. They are fries. So from here, we now move to the next one. The next ones, these ones are fairly old. They are about 2 weeks. By Thursday, they will be 3 weeks exactly. These ones are fairly old. They are fairly old. The same process. They came this way. They came here. The whole of this line, they are all about 3 weeks old. And we have to ensure that the water flows on a daily basis. That's what we call flow through. The outlet and the inlet. The water flows in and flows out continuously like that, 24/7. Okay. So from here, we can move to the parent stock.
Ever wonder about what he's doing? How it all turned to lies? Sometimes I think that it's better to never ask why.
Welcome back. You're watching SMS Weekly. Now, in the last episode, we discussed fish farming. Well, here's the concluding part of that interview. Do stay with us.
Ever wonder about what he's doing? How it all turned to lies? Sometimes I think that it's better to never ask why.
So I have a farm hand that sleeps here 24/7 in the farm, and he goes around to ensure that things are always in order. And again, we have a very good drainage, because this business involves the usage of water all 24/7. So we ensure that the drains are clean, so that when you are discharging one, they can go in. And again, you drain regularly. So that you don't inconvenience your neighbors with pollution and the rest of them, because the unearthed food, right, by the time they stay so long, 2-3 days in the water, they get polluted and they stink. Okay, so if you don't drain regularly, you are going to have challenges with your neighbor, right? So we ensure that we have a very good drainage where we drain into. But unlike earthen pond, you don't have such challenge. when we started in 2004, yes, we had a very tough challenge with electricity. We used to have a man diesel, that's a diesel engine here that we were running almost 24/7. But with the effect from I think last year, I think the light in this area has improved tremendously. So, but notwithstanding, we still have a bigger petrol engine that we power also when there is no light. On this farm, we have 3 boreholes, and our capacity is just about 10,000 metric tons. It's still very small. But notwithstanding, we have 3 boreholes that we put on almost 10 hours every day, because there must be water in all the tanks. All the tanks. The water that is feeding this nursery must never be empty. It must not, because any little change, one in their in the pH of the water, in the odor of the water, you see the fries just slipping all over and they are gone. So for electricity, well, we say that we have an improvement. All right. Well, as a consultant for Bank of Industry, on small scale, and I happen to be one of their approved BDSP, right? You see, going into fish farm business, the first thing I would like to encourage people to do is first get the market. Getting the market, you know the size of your market first. It's just like you want to settle down as a bachelor. You say, okay, I want to get just a self-contained apartment, you know, depending on your pocket. You maintain all your maintenance, everything will be on that self-contained. It's the same thing with fish farming business. When you get the market, okay, well, I've identified a supermarket that I can be giving about 50 or 100,000 fish every day or every week, as the case may be. You now come back and sit down. First is not to establish a fish farm. No. Look for an established fish farm, get your product from them, and be supplying. Strengthen your marketing. By the time you have a very strong market, a very strong, robust client on ground, okay, you can now sit down, okay, I want to start this fish farming. And starting fish farming is very, very easy. The business plan is very, very easy. You want to start with about 1,000 or maybe 500 pieces, right? You know the price of a fingerling, probably 10 naira. You know the price of feed. Because basically what we are doing in fish farming is we manage water, and the result is the fish that comes out. You buy the fingerling maybe at 10 naira, you go to the market to go and buy your feed at maybe 450 naira, add 10 naira to 450, that's 460, right? By the time you get to the market, you want to sell, you are selling 600, thereabout, plus all your little expenses and here and there. So by the time you look at that, okay, let me start with 1,000 pieces. 1,000 pieces times 10, we give you 10,000, no, 100,000. If it's 10, yes, that's 100,000. Okay. Now you want to feed this 100,000 up to table size, 1 kilo. So just multiply 460 times 10,000. So if you have that kind of money, to start, fine, you go into it. But if one is just a learner, starting with 500 pieces is advisable. See, 500 pieces will give you only 50,000. Then your feed, plus or minus that you used to feed them for the whole 4 months, is less than $1 million. But at the end of it, by the time you do your harvesting, you'll be selling almost 800 now per kilo, right? So 800 times 5 tons. So you are talking of almost 8 million. Though it's not as simple as that, because one, you are going to have some little ones that maybe that will die, that we call mortality. 1 or 2 will die, and if you don't have a very good hand, again, there'll be little pilferages here and there. So plus or minus, you say, okay, let's give maybe a loss of about 10% off. So 10% off 5,000 is still a very good one.
Ever wonder about what he's doing? How it all turned to life? Sometimes I think that it's better to never ask why.
segment now, we will be looking at snail farming. Now, food experts have revealed that snail meat is a white meat with a difference. It is similar in taste and texture to that of seafood, but unlike seafood, it is characteristically organic. It is therefore quite clearly the most preferable table meat from the high point of view, and is increasingly recommended by nutritionists, especially for the elderly and people living with chronic diseases that requires modified diet. Now let's take a look at many advantages of snail farming. Lately, with greater consumer awareness of the implications of high cholesterol levels in the blood and the possible association with increased incidence of heart attacks, cardiovascular and other chronic diseases, the demand for snail meat in the local and international market have been growing. Commercial snail farming has become an alternative for livestock farmers as it offers them new business opportunities. Snail farming is thriving at the moment in Nigeria because it was neglected and overlooked. Snail breeding can yield quick money if the farmer understands the nitty-gritty of the modern techniques and types of species that are in high demand in Nigeria, Europe, US, and other developed countries. In terms of cost and time, snail farming is a low-risk business and profitable, unlike many other livestock businesses. Snail farming requires very little startup and operating costs. Someone can start with 100,000 or 150,000 depending on the size of your farm. Snails are a huge part of the diet in many parts of Africa and around the world, although they are not always affordable and available all year round. 50,000 snails after 2 years sold at the rate of 200 naira each, highly reduced price, will give you about 10 million naira. Most of the snails supplied to the Nigerian market are picked from forest during the rainy season, which is between April and September. One reason why potential investors or farmers should consider snail business is that during the dry season, snail becomes increasingly scarce in the market, is starved of constant supply until the next wet season. This makes the supply of snails very seasonal in many parts of the world where they serve as food. As a result, snails can fetch much higher prices during the dry season, which is December, to March, when supply often does not keep up with demand. This is why you need to cultivate snail at your backyard or compound for profit making. As Nigeria explores possible areas of diversifying its economy to rake in more foreign exchange, the country should take a closer look at snail farming. The demand for snails in the local and international market is very encouraging. Currently, Achachatina margarita snail species is highly sought after and sells like hotcake in all the local and international market. This giant snail breed is the most desirable for farmers because it grows so big to become the biggest snail species in the world. It has the advantage of high adaptability, survivability, high prolificacy, fleshier and hardy in addition to the abundant in Nigeria. The giant African land snail is about the largest known land snail. Mature adults can weigh an average of 180 to 300 grams. The West African giant snails serve an increasingly important role in the tropics by virtue of their survival under captive rearing, resistance to parasites and diseases, ability to accept and convert plant parts and artificial diets to flesh, as well as being of high consumer preferences. Welcome back. You're still watching SMS Weekly. Now, this episode is getting really interesting as I'll be showing you an entrepreneur who specializes in snail farming and have made fortunes from it. So if you are interested, then this is for you. Rosemary Odinga is breeding the giant African land snail. She says it does not demand a lot of startup money or time. In her hometown, she harvests close to 12,000 snails.
I have been doing this since 2008, and it's been a very fantastic and joyous journey. There's a lot of research that went into this. I had to learn about different types of heliculture across the world. And in East Africa, we have the most prolific breeder of all the snails. And then, you know, snails also don't make noise. Yeah, they don't stink. So almost anybody can do it. Even a child can come and care for the snails.
They are slimy and scratchy, but Rosemary says they have been growing in popularity as a delicacy, especially among expatriate communities, mostly from Europe and part of West Africa. The giant African land snails breed fast and has been shown to be the most damaging snails in the world. Scientists say it feeds on at least 500 different types of plant and can pose structure damage to building. But Rosemary remains determined to make snail a more regular item of people's menu while she expands her business. And that's all we can take on SMS Weekly for today. Till I come your way next time, always remember to keep patronizing Made in Nigeria products. I'm Izinne Egesi. Bye for now.
Ever wonder about what he's doing? How it all turned to lies? Sometimes I think